Chitta 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 Sukam Sukam Sukhan Jnana 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 Dhatu 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 So let's remain in awareness and for a little while with our eyes closed. And I thought this morning I'd start off with a text called from Dzogchen Lingpa and the Song of the Tantric Gathering. And though he lived in the 19th century, he's a most contemporary yogi. And it starts this way. How wonderful, Emoho. The perfect time is this evenness of primordial purity of the moment, of this moment. And the perfect place, the highest pure land, the Dharmadhatu, is the stainless space of phenomena, this phenomena. And the perfect teacher, the Dharmakaya, Buddha, the primordial awareness, the Guru, self-revelation. And the perfect retinue, the infinite forms of primordial awareness. The perfect teaching, the secret mantra vehicle, the sounds of sublime vibration. Come to this tantric feast celebration, this manifestation of all-encompassing the purity of equalness. Another series. Next, the perfect time is now. Hello? Like Adele on TV a few days ago. Hello? Wasn't it great? Wasn't she great? I was amazed. Really, something. So the perfect time is in this primordial purity's vast expanse. And the perfect place is Mount Malaya's peak as our own embodiment. And the perfect teacher, the powerful Lord Vajradhara, the very nature of human awareness. And the perfect retinue, the assembly of Nirmanakaya's magical manifestations. Flesh. And the perfect sublime teachings, the direct path of the primordially pure, complete, great perfection. Come to this tantric feast, this celebration, of the manifestation of the radiance of the light. And finally, in this time of this joyous, fortunate age, the glorious place is the here and the now, wherever. And the perfect teacher, the lotus-born, from Udayana and Vilamantra, one's own awareness, and the perfect retinue, companionship, and the perfect teachings, the direct path of the luminous radiance, the great perfection. Come to this tantric feast, the celebration of those fortunate in karma and aspirations. And in the midst of this perfect present time of self-manifested reality, the perfect teacher is the Lama, who is one's own awareness. And the perfect retinue, the fortunate gathering. And the sublime Dharma, the perfect Dharma, the direct path of the great vehicle. Come to this tantric feast, the celebration of the realization of the natural state. May the power of the independent links I have made singing this joyous song of experience, and the strength of profound wisdom and skillful means, truth, bringing this feast magical manifestation of this gathering, in liberation together, in the encompassing evenness of the immortal, vast body of light, endowed with such great qualities. So I make this prayer, this invocation, to accomplish the experience of the rainbow body. Then he says, I, Dujam Lingpa, wrote this at Yogi Sonam's request. And may this be virtuous and auspicious. Pretty great, eh? We'll focus for a few moments on that invocation, invoking that. Then one more reading of this quote, which is so fantastic, by Durjam Rinpoche. Although hundreds of thousands of explanations are given, there's only one thing to be understood, nor the one thing that liberates everything, awareness itself, your true nature. So let's all extend to each other. Last day of the year, at least for this. And we, since September, as a little review again, we've been focusing really on one thing with different forms and implications, and that's the two modes of knowingness. Huh? Two modes of knowing. Huh? And knowing through mind alone, and knowing through awareness. Simultaneously. Simultaneously. So knowing through mind alone, as we know, it's knowing differences, huh? knows duality. It knows me and you. We know each other. We know us and them. Knowing faces and cars, knowing everything and anything. And by knowing through mind, we mean thinking, feeling, sensation, memory, imagination. And this other knowing, what's the chant celebrated? Omahung bodhicitta ma sukha yana dhatua. This knowing directly, awareness, yana, gnosis, knowingness, knowing knowingness itself, awareness, knowing awareness, within everything and anything, as everything and anything, awareness knowing non-duality, awareness knowing its own indivisibleness. And of course, going back to Heraclitus again, the pre-Socratics, which is not unlike Dzogchen at all. It's very, very similar, that understanding of Heraclitus and the pre-Socratics, who understood pre-reflective direct knowingness as source. So Heraclitus would just go, and he'd go to the marketplace and would shout out, strangely, the world is absolute oneness and absolute difference. Absolute oneness and absolute difference. And so knowing both simultaneously is liberating. So knowing duality within non-duality, and knowing non-duality within duality. Most people of most traditions, whatever they might be, actually they know both, but more often than not we know both separately. Hasn't that been your experience? You know non-duality, fantastico. And then you know duality. And there's a gap. Or you know duality, and then you pause from duality, and you know non-duality. And that's not only experiential, but it's philosophized in those ways too. Of course, fortunately, in moments of lovingness, wherever, whatever, this both are known simultaneously. Isn't that true? In lovingness, both are known simultaneously. That's why it's so compelling. Or as the medievalists would say, ubi caritas et amor Dei CBS. Wherever love is, there's divinity. There is non-duality. And many traditions consider non-duality real and duality not real. Alas. So in Dzogchen, at least we understand it, and also in Shaivism, Phenomenology, different little streams, you and I, slowly but surely, learn to integrate the knowingness of mind within this knowingness of awareness. And this awareness, which is so multidimensional, we bring the mind in. We've been practicing a little bit invocation. We heard a beautiful invocation just now, a few moments ago, both by the song John Denver was singing, right? You feel that arising within you, both personally and archetypically. And then the invocation of the chant, Om Amahong Bodhicitta Masuka Yanadatu. Another invocation. Huh? As Tanya's chanting it, it starts to arise in your body. Huh? The primordial energy, the archetypical manifestation starts to rise in our bodies and begins to infuse our mind. Or these Dakini texts I've been reading, which are very multidimensional, picks up many aspects of this feminine knowingness. Huh? But as we invoke it together, bring that forth. We bring forth that dimension, then within that dimension we would experiment a little bit. Experiment knowing through mind alone, with that background. Mind knowing mind. And a lot of people's descriptions were rather similar. There was a kind of fixatedness. Huh? The mind has a fixatedness to it. Has a little ring of thingy, you know? It reifies everything, including its own self, relatively. And then we shifted to personality, in embodied state. It's more wholer, more fuller, more resonance, huh? Actually, more intrinsic resonance. And then we shifted to the awareness state, which would start to infuse with that archetypical background, infuse personality. That dimension would be infused, and mind dimension would be infused, and a state of oneness could be perhaps more felt. You guys remember that a little bit? And of course, this anima, this dakini, this knowingness directly has different dimensions to it, from pure potentiality, luminous darkness, and then it begins manifesting as the elements described in the text, the elements still the same, for manifesting the world, yellow, water, and fire, and these elements becoming the vortexual realm of the deities and devas. And as that's formed, it's being formed out of awareness, it's being known out of awareness, but also the mind begins to play a role. Because if you look above me, there's a manifestation of the Divine Mother, the archetypical manifested through someone's mind. Through someone's mind. And then down the street there's another one, archetypical manifestation, same energy of Yeshitogo, same, but she looks quite different, huh? Cultural mind, personal mind's manifestation, right? So it's not like in the archetypical apparitional world, the mind is not part of the play. Say yes if you understand that. Before we move on, some people also mentioned some things they experienced last week. We had some experiential sharing, but some other people mentioned some things later that I thought was pretty interesting. So one person came and spoke about the Kachari state that the text mentions, Kachara Mudra. So I'm going to ask her to describe her experience. Kano, please. Kachara Mudra.
There was a time when you were describing Amrita, and it so brought me back to, and you were describing the nectar of Amrita, and that just your speaking about it brought me back to a time when I was with Baba Muktananda, and that was happening quite often. And that was happening was my tongue rolls back into the top of my mouth, and my head kind of rolls back, and tongue goes like up into the top of my throat, just behind the hard palate, and there's a soft part there, and then there's a sweetness. There's an absolute juicy sweetness that just comes, and it's the most divine experience to have that, to be in that. It just happens of its own accord. It's not like I'm trying to make it happen, and yet when you spoke about it, it was just brought me right there again. So thank you.
The Kachara Mudra, right? So in the that experience is both in the Shaivite tradition and it's also in the Dzogchen tradition. Raise your hands if you felt that sometime, someplace. Great. So I'm just going to read one more thing about the Kachara Mudra to amplify that. And so Kanu was describing that manifestation of the energy opening, tongue comes up and opens up the palate. The energy comes and then these nectarian states arise in us. And also commentary Yen Chin also, if those who ever hear Yen Chin's Uzi is played right after this. He also places the tongue up there. And sometimes you may practice that, just placing your tongue naturally, without effort. But you don't really have to. So this is a little statement about the Kachari Mudra, also the Kachari states. Not the mudra, that's the mudra, the posture. This is the Kachari state. Pure higher knowledge or knowingness arises in the seeker, blessed by the grace of the Guru. And he or she is filled with this discrimination and understanding, direct understanding. And so he or she loses all interest in the trivial cities. So as one gets a little better at this sort of thing, little cities arise, little gifts, to each their own. But they can be useful, but they can also be distractions, whatever that means to you. And so one becomes lost, absorbed in this natural state of bliss consciousness. And slowly, surely, you become established. That's why this establishment, this stability of awareness, this establishment in the the sky of pure awareness, where there's bliss, Mahasukha. I love where the different traditions cross each other and say the same thing. This is Kachari. K is the sky of pure awareness, the space of consciousness. He would also describe this also the sky-goers. Huh? And Chari is that which moves and delights or soars in that sky. So Kachari is the state of Shiva, pure awareness. That state in which one hears the vibrations, the melodies of the space of consciousness manifesting, and enjoys the bliss, pulsations that arise up from within. And upon receiving grace, which is the givenness of everything and anything, a seeker should sit firmly in their posture, whatever that posture is, and focus their mind on this awareness, and merge their senses into this state, and become completely absorbed in it. And in the meditative awareness experience this Shiva, the same oneness, and every thought, all the different thoughts, and all the different objects, and lose themselves in this great experience. And the universe is assimilated into this awareness. in this awareness. And the power of the mudra is realized. And someone else shared the arising of the deity, and I think that Heidi was you.
So we had a wonderful experience with Jan. I think in some ways it would be also complete by her sharing. So for me it was like the prayer you cited at the beginning evoked the mother. And then the mother was actually leaping from the pictorial presentation here. But what was so divine about it was that it was like the mother was the offering of the grace. And she merged within me, and it was like an offering of the nectar. But it was even more wonderful to be able to then kind of evoke the sharing with Jan, and then kind of us both experiencing the mother offering herself as the grace and the Amrita.
Thank you so much. The microphone's dying. Is there a battery back there, maybe? Would someone else like to share anything? And then we'll move on. Anyone? From last week? Yes. There's some batteries right there, yeah.
One of the clearest experiences from last week was that experience of, it was almost like an offering to my partner, and then what would come back through the extension to my partner was like a cascade of what had been offered. And I was with that awareness through this week and found when I could remember that, you know, just how different it was to be with others.
It's a beautiful word, isn't it? Cascade.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was the experience. It was like, oh my gosh, you know, like it's coming towards fully.
Anybody else want to share anything? Carolyn, I think you shared something too with Fran last week, did you? That's okay. Anybody else want to share anything? We'll pass it down. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What resonated with me was the dark mother, and having that. I was with Tom, and his sort of the male energy and the dark mother energy, and there was this clarity around that energy, that power of kind of embodying this fierceness, you know, as a mother. As a mother, yeah, just as a human.
Feel that embodiment taking place in your body.
It's
Actual way.
grounding, affirming, powerful. Yeah.
Thank you so much. talking to it stops a little bit. So let's close our eyes again just for a moment. And just a brief little talk, and then we'll work experientially. So, conversations in awareness. Because here we're offering, even at this moment, we're having conversations, huh? Conversations within awareness. And these conversations that take place within awareness, within the field of awareness, looks conventional, but it's not a conventional conversation. And we focus on the other, like Marla was describing, and others were describing. The person, the focus is not quite actually on a person, like out there, but it's within the person. And in a certain way, though it's there through the mind, body, and the awareness, it's a little bit beyond mind, beyond personality, beyond the mental words, the signifiers of experience. They're there, but it goes a little bit beyond that. Say yes if that's making sense to you. So the person is being known and experienced from within the field of awareness. Not to be within the field of your awareness within you, but within the field of awareness that is between us. It is a within to within experience. Say yes if that's making sense. So the person is being known and experienced from within the field of this awareness of awareness, this natural state of knowingness that is actually manifested as space and this energy, this vital energy, this chi, this shakti, and this light, this knowingness, this clarity. For such a conversation, at least one person should be in the field. And when you have two in the field simultaneously, two is more powerful than one, and 15 more powerful than two. And so the connection is not simply mind to mind, as most ordinary conversations are. And the connecting is within the non-duality or the indivisibility of the mutually held awareness state, which is the light of awareness itself. I know we all know this, but I'm saying it for a point of view of clarity this morning. There's a word or phrase called Jyotismati, which means the light of awareness itself. And the word Jyotismati describes being in the light of awareness itself, or being in the field of being as the light. And it's manifested within conversation. Within conversation. So this experience, this pre-reflective connectedness, takes place within the field and through the field and as the field. Just like what Heidi was describing first, there was that frame, and the apparition moves and moves into her as a way of describing that art of becoming the archetypical dimension in a here and now, Nirmanakaya Sambhogakaya moment. But as the field. And sometimes it may seem as if two fields are connecting, two people intertwining within the two. The inner yin meets the outer yin. It may appear that way, but actually and ultimately, there's only one field, and so this awareness state, or this knowingness, is from inside to inside, direct and relatively unmediated. And the true meaning of the phrase, intersubjective, reflects this experience, huh? That Kunjungsyo, the mysterious Kunjungsyo of Jung. So all human beings have this possibility, although it's not always used, but can be praxis, Praxis. Huh? So this experience is really also the experience of the great compassion, Omahung Bodhicitta, huh? Masuka Yana Datua, awareness, knowing awareness within everyone and everything. And amazingly, even our little conversations here when we're having them, this awareness is both timeless and in time simultaneously. Because we can be in timeless awareness, and we can be in time, and we can be in timeless awareness and time simultaneously. It's like putting your two fingers together. It's like this mudra. See this mudra? That is the mudra. Simple, simultaneous, timelessness. Of course, this experience at times is invisible, just having a conversation, and yet, through the doorway of awareness, it becomes very visible. Even though it seems completely conventional. Of course, to bring this about, a person enters awareness and invokes the field, both with oneself and with others. Always when we talk about, extending to the situation, at a deeper level, you're invoking the field of awareness within the context of the immediacy of the place that you're at. In the truest sense, the field is manifesting the person, it's manifesting you, and is a manifestation of the person. Isn't that amazing? The field is manifesting you, and in the very manifestation, if you can connect to that manifestingness, that givenness, and then you're manifesting the field. Say yes if you're understanding that. That's why the Dzogchen masters say understanding is really useful. Understanding is useful. It's like, it's all there, but we might not see what's actually there, the potentiality that's actually there. So in this way, personhood itself, who-ness itself, is a field phenomena. It is awareness itself manifesting. It's not mind alone. And in this who-ness of our own awareness, we can, at times, dissolve and metabolize certain states of mind that are so thingy-like. They keep organizing relentlessly, Field phenomena. Say yes if that's bringing these states into this awareness. So whenever you or I are in this awareness, spaciousness, we'll experience spaciousness, we'll experience this vitality, this energy, and the light. And spaciousness arises. And sometimes in its arising, its first glance, it can be scary. For some reason it's coming to me. The first time I experienced Kachara Mudra, tongue goes up, opening up, and suddenly this vast space opens up. Everything starts disappearing, including yours truly, and what remained was terror. Without a thought, it was a state of terror. That absence, the absence arising. Then some kind of way the intuition arises, let me out of here, which arises a lot around manifestations of awareness. It has its own intensity, right? Let me out of here. But I couldn't quite find the me to get out of there. I didn't know where there was. But eventually, time came back. And it's that feeling of absence, where we started this a couple of weeks ago, Long Champa's talk on absence, where most people, including yours truly and you too, give up meditation. Because there is a state of annihilation that arises. When they speak of deathless awareness, it sounds great. But deathless awareness does have its darker moments. It also has fantastic moments as you begin to experience unborn undyingness. But in the wide range, you want to be prepared for that experience. Say yes if you're understanding this. And as you're teaching this, and more people of you guys will be teaching meditation, this is really part of the package. That is one of the major reasons why people do little bits of meditation. They do 10 minutes. Because as they start going further into meditation, the rumbling, the opening starts to take place. Yes, please.
I've also, maybe others too, have been experiencing that not in states of meditation.
Yes.
Especially like waking up.
Yes.
Is part of what I feel like has been very valuable about what we've been embracing is, okay, so ride this wave.
Yes. Ride that wave.
Terrified, let's be with the terror, and then something else arises.
Yes. See, because you've been meditating, meditation, which was formal meditation, which is awareness of awareness, starts to continue in our life. So in a certain way, Dzogchen meditation goes beyond meditation. Dorje Lingpa speaks of it is non-meditation. Just like in that great, the Dark Mother one, at a point he says there's no deity, there's no God, there's no demons, there's no meditation. It starts dissolving what it had just embraced, and brought forth. But what's happening, and it's really great this is happening to people, it's happening to us, is we're starting to experience these states arising, seemingly willy-nilly, like waking up, going to bed. It's just seeing around you dissolving of phenomena. That is the givenness of awareness, giving itself to us out of good fortune. That okay?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
There's no turning back.
And it says in that great text,
Already cast.
the song already, you've gone too far, Marla.
I get it.
Yes.
Just when arises when you sleep, it can be kind of terrifying.
It is especially terrifying in sleep, because one of the things that happens is we're starting to learn to sleep in awareness. Going to sleep in awareness, and that same absence. But you and I are trying to recognize that absence as the doorway into Mahasukha Yana Datua, right? But that recognition really helps. And also invoking your relationship to the primordial guru, or those forms of the guru, and also the forms of the archetypical dimension. Just like the mother, the fierce mother, is a protector. You don't want a sissy protecting you, right? Serious. You want fierceness is the great protection. That's why true compassion has a fierce quality to it that's far beyond empathy, as we know. So almost done. So also, when you are in this conversation and you're in this awareness, speech, there's a change in speech, right? We focus a lot on speech here, which is quite different than we're in mind alone. And so we may say the innermost awareness begins to express itself through speech, through vibrationalness, then speech as sound, as light, as syllables. And so speech starts to communicate not just what is signified, the signifiers, but it's in the elaboration of the experience itself is communicating itself through the field directly. And it also parallels in the words, but it's not simply in the words. Say yes if you understand that. And fortunately, we have some people who are really great at that when they share their experience, which is really, that's why we all know the teacher is the field itself coming through everybody. Even this morning, Marla's articulation, Kano's articulation, Heidi's articulation. We can feel that coming through us, through speech. Huh? So speech changes, and then there's a certain power of speech that arises for us. And then we begin to speak spontaneously. And which is always scary for all of us, to speak spontaneously what's arising. But that spontaneous speech is part of the unfolding of awareness. It is totally non-incidental. So also, almost done, with this suspension of mind, then that void arises, huh? The abyss arises at first. And there can be a negation of thought. So then one passes through the gap, sometimes a tiny little gap, and sometimes a little bigger. And then the gazing state opens, huh? Because gazing just isn't gazing at the sky, which is nice. I have to look straight up and to the wires to gaze at the sky. You know? But the gazing through one's whole body in the situation, huh? Then in that gazing, non-duality manifests itself. And even speech takes place from this within to within, this directness. So it's not thoughts of our mind imposed on experience. We always have to be careful with this in the work of therapy. We're always imposing our mind on our experience. I impose the thoughts of my mind on my experience. Haven't you done that a few times? And that is history. Relentlessly coming. So in the suspension of the mind, then what arises will have more power and actually experientially be closer to the manifestation of primordial awareness. But arising from within the direct knowingness, the felt sense of what is in, within to within. So the felt sense, held and sustained, brings forth presence and action. So as you and I hold the felt sense of anything, and we stay with it, it's arising as an affect, a feeling. But if we can hold that experience within, experientially near, then as we hold that in awareness, that's what awareness is, then the awareness itself becomes more manifest through whatever that is. So in this way, there can be cutting through or entering through configurations of mind, and then we find that openness arising of Dasein, that pure openness of us to primordial awareness itself. Say yes if you understood that little thing there. And it's not that we don't integrate our minds. If we try and not integrate our mind, the actual power of the alchemical does not take place. It doesn't mean it's really great to have formal a meditation where we're just in awareness itself without mind. But that's like churning it's getting the soup ready, right? It's cooking. And then we want to integrate our mind and body. So the felt sense of trust also arises out of this. And within the felt sense of this oneness, or this indivisibility of non-duality. And so what takes place slowly but surely, which is really the best, is that dissociation, the primordial dissociations between our mind and awareness. That is the most basic dissociation. That is the primal cut between our mind and this awareness, or baby gnosis, that baby direct perception starts being cut by the internalization of phenomena, the internalization experience, which actually grows our mind. The mind is made out of experiences, internalizations, personal, familial. And for some people, they have the good fortune of that cut is not so complete. So that awareness is always there in its primordialness. And then how to hold that is another challenge. Are you with me? But part of understanding meditation and teaching meditation from this frame is understanding the intrinsic developmentalness that awareness and mind are. So in a certain way, our little story here, say, which is always our little story here, is we take our personal narrative somewhat here. You with me? There are certain experiences that the personal narrative is very important, like in death. You with me? That we always honor the personal narrative there, because that's opening up everything for us in those moments. But we don't really focus that much on our personal narrative, our story, right? Of our personal narrative. Like, what's your name? Who's this person's name? What do you do? Who? We don't bother about any of that. But the narrative we focus on is the narrative of arising of awareness, right? And sometimes for some people, even from the beginning, these two narratives are always simultaneous. Troublesome, but simultaneous. And for some people, the narrative of primordial awareness drops to, and we become white bread. You with me? And just perfectly moving ahead, you know? And sometimes it's much more complicated. But the narrative that we're interested in here, and we articulate, is the narrative of the unfolding of awareness. That the two become simultaneous again. My personal narrative and the conjuncio with this awareness. Say yes if you guys understand that. That's what we're doing here. Yes, more or less.
I missed the white bread part.
White bread is a cynical statement.
I gathered
Marita bread. Do I love Marita bread?
Yeah, I gathered that, but could you repeat?
No, because there's a great person who writes about the normality or the mnemonic character. Who knows him? Very object relationship person from England. Surely someone knows him. Object. Later. Very contemporary. Huh? No. That is a psychoanalytic. Anyway, he writes a lot about the mnemonic character and the loss of character, in the best sense of character, by being so mnemonic. You with me? And the mnemonic character. And the mnemonic character is a very solid ego functioning. You with me? But there's not much psyche there. Psyche's to the background. You follow me?
Plain like the white bread.
It's like white bread. It's like, I will think of his name the next time we talk. And so another way of saying it, thinking of John, the true self drops to the background, and then a false self, a successful self. A-okay with this last part? Say yes if you're understanding this. So let's focus here for a minute. Let's pair up. Let's enter the life of little couples. And a lot of life is the life of couples. You with me? And it doesn't have to be permanent couples. You know, you know companionship. Hello? When people speak of sanghas and things like that, at one time it could, hello? When people, hello? I'm sorry guys, before you start your conversation, such things as Dharmakaya or Dharma awareness, the unfolding of awareness, and the action helps us form it, or Sangha. All those things can mean different things in different times, in different centuries, right? And companionship, is really important in this undertaking. Companionship. And different forms of companionship where we hold awareness with another, right? And you don't have to come here to do this sort of thing, yeah? But the holding of awareness with another person, whatever the form, is really, really useful. And that is direct companionship. So let's enter awareness again. And remaining in awareness. And however you wish, you can invoke this awareness, this bringing this forth, this feel, this invocation. A lot of practices are invocating practices, invocation, calling forth, bringing forth. I always like studying different traditions, you know. It helps de-dogmatize me, de-fixate me. I remember one time going to study with Benny Hinn. Fantastic. Drive up someplace in Virginia. All the cars have shotguns in the back of the windows. I missed my shotgun at that moment. We get out, and two people walk over, and they say, "Would you guys come mind working with us?" Fantastic. That big line, we go over. And the person says, "Glad you guys have volunteered, or were volunteered. This is an impossible task. We have 5,000 people coming here, and they're desperate. So this is the training. We're going to invoke the Holy Spirit." And he invokes the Holy Spirit. This sheath of energy and light arises, just like right now. And that's the training. Good luck. So all were given jobs, and it flowed coolly. And then Benny Hinn comes on, and all the people are there. And he says, "In the name of Jesus," pow! The light enters, the energy enters in the most direct way. And all the great shamans were masters of invocation, huh? And a lot of this, from these traditions, from my mind, have shamanistic roots of invocation. So let's invoke again. For yourself and each other. And then you're establishing yourself in stability. Stability is very important. You want to have some degree of stability, establishment. Embodiment. Establishment means embodiment. Whole body. And that's why in the great text of the Gurdjieff Tantra, you bring your mind into the heart essence. So as we're bringing each other into the heart essence, I'm going to read a statement from Dzogchen Lingpa in this great text. And this is a little bit esoteric, but don't worry about it. In the heart, where luminosity abides as the ground awareness, is a bindu of light, like a peacock's egg, blue light, indicating or manifesting the presence of the nature, intrinsic nature and compassion simultaneously, the same. And from that, light rays radiate upward, invoking the enlightened awareness of all the victorious ones and their heirs who reside in this limitless, pure land in all the directions. We can do that now. And arising as this inexhaustible, this wheel, this vortex of enlightened body, speech, mind, qualities, activities, like massing clouds. And they arrive to dissolve into the three doors: body, speech, mind, qualities. And in particular, into the secret path of wisdom, gnosis, jnana. The bindu of the ground of the heart is known. And consider that these doors become the openings of both the outer vessel and the inner dimension of phenomenal existence, awakening as the kayas and wisdoms. They're becoming apparent, known. Now, resting in this nature as much as possible is method. Resting in this nature as much as possible is the method. And then, through gazing, placing the radiance of awareness as the Vajra chain, like sequence of light, between the enclosure of space and these bindus, these points of light, pulsating light. And resting in this mandala of the nature of clear light, free from rejection, free from acceptance, free from hope, free from hopelessness, free from fear. This is the evenness of prajna, wisdom, knowingness, direct knowingness. And allow yourself to experience this with your companion. Inclusiveness. then this text says, once you arise from this, so now you're taking a step forward, you're moving. The method is to then take the path of knowing the entire world to be this pure, pure land, this realm of spaciousness and light, activity, and that all the beings, all of them, are the manifestation of the Dakinis. And at all times, and in all situations, do not depart, don't leave, don't quit, run from the state of this great, ineffable, unfabricated awareness. And so to internalize, to make it your own, this path, this profound path of the indivisible method and knowingness, you practice this for 1 month. Okay, for 2 weeks. And this will bring stability to you. You will gain stability of awareness. In body, speech, and mind. And this will bring about a functionality. And this is being granted by the blessings of the Dakinis, the Devas, of the sacred realms. So we'll take this morning as an invocation. Dzogchen Lingpa. And then sustaining the experience of this awareness, we're going to extend or enter into your companion. You're going to bring your awareness into them into you. Into non-duality, within duality. And even if your eyes are closed, within the state of non-duality, avec with this person, within the non-duality, let yourself discover duality. Without losing non-duality. We're going beyond flipping from non-duality to duality, back to non-duality, back to duality, back and forth. because we're in awareness, which is not being in our mind alone or body alone, that transitional space. And therein lies the possibility of living the paradox, simultaneous, timeless awareness in time. The great compassion that Dorjum Yangchen Rinpoche describes is capacity to be in timeless awareness in time simultaneously, and extending this awareness to another in the present and into their past and into their future. And then when the field is firm enough, there's enough warmth there or stability there, you can also touch the person. But touching them inside to inside, where the touch is in the field, inside to inside directly. And you can experience oneness and difference simultaneously. Some people have trouble with this because they're always sexualizing everything and anything. That's why the capacity to use the energy, a la the Kundalini, and have it arising through your body, up through the chakras, up to the heart, opening the heart, frees you to have this oneness in this fashion. This knowingness knows knowingness embodied. Let's extend to our companion again, inside to inside. Then through them, let's extend to our ancestors. It's really useful at times to extend through other people. More power. Let's extend to our ancestors, the mothers and the fathers, the mothers and the fathers. And let's extend to all the great teachers and yogis we've met. And those people who embody awareness so completely that the invisible becomes visible. And let's extend then to all the different traditions we participate in, to each their own, themselves fields of knowledge, experience, and light. Let's extend to the Dakini, the archetypical dimension is the Dakini again, who's both source at one level, who's manifested within us at one level, and who's our companion at another level. source, the very manifestation of us, and companion. And you have to really open up your understanding of companion. Now, we're going to stay in awareness, and I'm going to pass the mic around, because this is not outside of awareness. This is not something other than being in awareness. It's an activity that we do. So we're going to remain in awareness. I'm going to pass the mic around, and you, if you'd like, I'd like everyone since the last day to briefly share their experience of right now, whatever that might be. And then we'll end our little feast today. But do not make a commentary on last week, or yesterday, or even this morning. Just, as Dorje Rinpoche says, the Buddha is now. Briefly, we have a lot of people. Spontaneously.
Resting in this awareness is, it's like a blazing light, and but also imbued with love, and that gives it a little bit of fluidity, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing it within myself is easy because of practice, and so when I include my partner in that, then the space just opens up more and more, and then all the boundaries basically dissolve, and it just becomes like vast space, light, nectar. And an image that came up very clearly, because it's also so subtle, when we were going back between non-dual and dual, it reminded me of an image I saw recently in a documentary about these divers went into the ocean and discovered this phenomena. They didn't know what it was. It was this extremely thin membrane. It was huge.
Huh.
And they decided it was a sperm sac from some kind of sea creature.
Uh-huh.
And it was enormous. And they only if they shone the light in a particular way could you actually see the edge of the membrane. So it's that subtle. It wasn't even like a soap bubble. It was so fine. The light just had to be in a certain position. So that's sort of what it feels like. This dual, non-dual border is so thin that it's almost imperceptible.
Beautifully described. Thank you so much.
An incredible stillness, and yet the vortexes are there and flowing, and a sweetness, and at the same time fire and fierceness. And the singularity and oneness, and just as Tanya was describing, it is such a fine, thin film, and yet very distinctly both of them right there, and passing through each other was just incredible boundlessness and spaciousness, and yet the singularity is there.
Thank you so much. Everybody should share something today.
I'm aware of when connecting with Patricia that it's like the field becomes more
there's a thicker, becomes thicker somehow. And at the same time, there is that sense of, I want to say solidity, but it's that sense of being really grounded in the ground, and yet no boundary, nothing, and that stillness again, that utter stillness. And the other thing that's happening today is that there's so much of the nectar flowing. It's like a waterfall. It's coming down. I can. Anyway, this endless space with strength and beauty.
Carol and I have been in a dark forest. And around us I see trees that have this beautiful column connected to earth and sky. And there are also pillars connected to earth and sky all around us, and it's dark. I am not looking across at another person. That is not what it is. I am simply there with her, and there's no comparison, and there's no thought. And then as the experience unfolded, I suddenly felt my column of light inside her column of light, and her column of light inside my column of light.
Thank you so much.
The moment of oneness was palpable. The sweetness of this blue light and vortex moving up of us, of the sweetness of being in one, and the recognition of each of us, and with the power of going through Steve in the past, present, future, opened a vastness of infinity that included everything with no boundaries.
I took in two things from the talk today. One was the time and timeless awareness, not experiencing time in timeless awareness, but experiencing them both as a parallel experiences that are so fused together that they're the same and yet they're parallel experiences. And the other, what Marla said about the terror and having to go through it, just riding that wave. When she said that, I realized how I sometimes, when I approach that, I kind of hold my hand up and say, safe place, safe word, and I keep myself from it. And so this experience with Gisela was, as soon as we began, I felt my heart just open up, and it was painful. And it just was open, and it was opening to her heart. I was so aware that we were together, and it wasn't a transition. Well, the transitional space was much, much less. It was like our hearts were almost fused, and I tolerated that. and it was okay not having that safe space between us. It was okay. And then as our, it was just like a burning, and then I experienced a kind of a fierce deity, multidimensional, that grew from our hearts together, and it was like going around, and it was both of our hearts together that it was appearing in, and just being open to that and allowing both of our hearts to experience this, and my experiencing it as her heart, as my heart, but it's my experience.
Going from the bindu in the heart, Dakini hands sort of grasped my pelvis and pulled downward, and it was like the deep bedrock of the earth with the glowing fire entered in and holding that inside, and that permeated the radiance of the light with a warmth and a glow. And then in connecting with Muriel, that brought in a quality of the Amrita and love and gratitude and tears of love and gratitude, and just still having that power and strength of the earth permeating with that the beauty and the lightness of the love and the gratitude, the Amrita.
I'm not really sure where to start. I just had the most amazing experience of my life. Basically, when you said "pa" about Jesus Christ, I'm not religious, but I felt Jesus in my head. Like I felt like light, like Jesus is light. And then I felt a Dakini touching my third eye. And I started to feel this blue light coming up from my heart up into my head. And at first I felt my head, but I felt triangles coming out, almost like a Statue of Liberty, you know, sort of like a halo of triangles. They were blue. And then all of a sudden my head disappeared and I was in heaven. Like I saw heaven. And it was so beautiful. I started crying. Now I know that heaven is primordial awareness, because that's what it is. I could sort of manifest anything in that space. It was so vast. It never ended. And then it was so nice that when you asked us to connect, I almost didn't want to leave. And I was like, I don't want to leave, this space. But I then tried really hard to bring Mom into there because I wanted to show her heaven. And when I did finally connect with her, my body disappeared. And I just felt like we were in the same space, but I still felt the heaven above my head. I was in both places at the same time. It was really cool. So, yeah. It was great. Thanks, Rudy. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Who's the headless person here?
Yeah. It was so weird. I was like, where did my head go? I also felt this ball of light in my heart, and it went up in like a triangle, but like it never ended, but it went straight up over my shoulders and my head wasn't there anymore. It was so awesome. Yeah, so thank you.
Great. I'm going to pass it to someone else then.
Wow, in the aftermath of that, what touched me so deeply in this experience today was as I leaned into Diana and the sense of oneness was that we were like this, that we each were a clear stream of rippling water, and then there were the rocks and pebbles at the bottom were like the real
the dual, and this sense of being in the experience of being this clear, exquisite water, and having the visual of the rocks at the same time created a knowing about how to be dual and non-dual at the same moment. And then at the same time we were touching, and I had that sense as well of going from the experience of being touched to the experience of touching and not being able clearly to distinguish where one began and the other ended.
Thank you so much.
Incredible stillness and a sort of baseless infinity, along with a pulsating energy that had both a dual and a non-dual quality to it.
Great phrase. Baseless infinity. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
When you said to connect the hearts, it was just like in the center. It wasn't me, but it was there. And I just kept curiously sensing it and feeling it. And it sounds kind of corny, but realizing that was it. That was the power of love that you talk about. But it isn't power, but it felt powerful. But it was more than that. And it was so soothing and so just plain right. And I rested in that as an individual, but as part of. And it was really good.
Initially, I experienced myself in outer space, in the black with blues and purples and stars twinkling. And then I've not coupled with Marilyn, right? Yeah. I've not coupled with Marilyn before, so initially I didn't have much of a sense of her. So I went into my heart, and the more I stayed in there, the more the light from my heart started moving toward her and getting bigger and bigger. And then the light between us is bright, but it also took on a density to it. Yeah, and it stayed. And the longer we connected like that, then I began to experience what would you call it? A bracelet around us, or a ring around us of light that was like a protection. And then the more we stayed there, I experienced our bodies sort of, just falling away, and in the midst of the light.
That last phrase, the body's falling away, is not a dissociative state. It's quite the opposite. Okay? It is really a dissolving into mortal awareness itself. Thank you so much.
I felt a stability of oneness with my partner. At one point, I started feeling arms coming out of my side, like the goddess with all those arms. I don't really know what it meant, but it was just sort of an expansion is how it felt. Like it was an extension, and that I had my two arms, but I had these other arms too. Right now I just feel a sense of real stability.
Thank you so much. We'd love having you back, and hope you enjoyed graduate school.
vibration between us. My experience is that the pain body dissolves.
Well said.
So I initially went into this beautiful connection with Laura, and no personality, just energy, just feeling her lightness of energy. And the more I felt into her lightness of energy, there was a frequency, and I could really feel my frequency just getting more like faster, just faster. And that frequency of energy then just, and the word that you used just now is the exact word, dissolved into luminosity. And there was just this huge luminosity bubble of light and luminosity vibrating at this kind of faster level than my own. It just was like it heightened me, and and when we disconnected our hands, because we had our hands touching the whole time, when we disconnected our hands, I still felt that vibration moving up through my arms, like it was still in me. It was just, I still feel like I'm kind of shaking and drunk.
That's it. That's it, exactly. There's a quality of wooziness, there was a spontaneous recognition with a smile on all levels, just sort of unconditional, uncontrolled, had to then rest in it.
Thank you so much.
There's new meaning to a heart connection. It's the experience of the heart being full-bodied and also in connection with the other and becoming one heart. It's like being in this sea of love and light and profound gratitude.
I've been drawn to, this morning, to gazing through my eyes, and I had this desire to have a partner, and then my partner came and our eyes hooked and we couldn't not gaze through our eyes, and that did become the portal to a very different form of gazing, and a portal to an explosion in the heart center, and a stability and a normalcy of the whole experience. There was never a time that I wasn't aware of being here in this room, being in this universe, all at the same time, and being so steady and stable. And all faculties were present. And I was both in this amazing sense of tearful shedding of veils that could block any kind of opening, and surrendered in a way I've never experienced before, and just having a persona and not having a persona at the same time. And there were times I was gazing at my partner and her head would disappear, and
and then it would come back. And then as I was listening, I had my eyes closed, and each person's voice and the words that they were saying were all part of this amazing one beingness. And as if I experienced each of the experiences that were being spoken about, although I couldn't have spoken about them unless I'd heard them through those vehicles at the same time.
Thank you so much. Especially about the disappearance. There's a disappearance of phenomena at time, right? And sometimes it all disappears, and sometimes there's a disappearance and other phenomena remains. And it's like the fourth phase of the Togo practice, which we've all been empowered to. So it's quite cool. Now, we're running late, but I would love if everybody on the other side of the room can just say a brief statement, like whatever they want to say, but briefly, like 10 seconds apiece. So, I'm going to take it too little, but we're going to, and just a little bit of a sharing. I'm going to try and everybody have something to say before we're done.
My 10 seconds is there's a cool breeze that comes right before the coming of another.
Merci. Thank you so much.
Bright light spreading into a wide, quiet lake, permeating the whole experience as the experiences arose and fell.
Thank you so much.
The field as companion and the illusion of aloneness.
Fantastic. Thank you. Bye, Jim.
Simultaneous peering in and a sucking connection with this umbilical cord that's ongoing, and a pattern of choral, seeing how life kind of evolves through those energies.
My blue white light hands under Catherine's neck as our heads became one and lifted up into the light together. No more two, just one.
Thank you so much. Glad to have you here.
A heart breaking open with that experience, deepening the sense of a full-bodied presence that was beyond individuality and was both dual and non-dual at the same time.
Thank you so much.
I loved learning something more about the experience of duality and non-duality. So many levels, and the word level seems too mechanistic, but he's drifting in and out.
Thank you. Glad to have you come here today. Thank you.
Sweet, refined, opening, stillness. Coming and leaving all at the same time.
Thank you so much. Oh. We're now going to 8 seconds.
When we first started, I felt warm. I started getting warm, and the image was just like jewel-like bright red, but very light, and it spread out around the room, and then all of a sudden everything just sort of faded into black, and it stayed that way for a few seconds, and then colors. I know colors started appearing, and I realized it was the colors of black.
Beautifully described.
Ready, set, go. And a timeless 8 seconds of embrace, so much fullness that it expanded into an embrace that was of, as in the talk, all the dimensions all being one.
It's a delicious, playful, in and out of, like a dolphin diving into duality, non-duality, and experiencing great stillness and movement in that.
Instant connection with a lot of energy, a lot of Dakinis, Mary, and a great deal of fierceness and energy.
Felt like kind of a cosmonaut in, I kept thinking about, it was Carl Sagan and his billions of stars. And then when kind of merging with Amy, the energy just thickening and a kind of a slowing down and a just feeling more solid, but still up in that universe.
My experience was and still is that as I extended and as we became one within duality and non-duality, I became aware of the stuff that we are all made of, going way beyond atoms and molecules and quarks, and it was like the stuff behind that just permeated everything.
Thank you so much.
With the support of the red fiery light and the lapis-lazuli light, with a full body gaze of my partner incorporating my mind, I experienced her character, her compassion, her strength, her determination, and all those preoccupations of the mind just dissolved.
Archetypal presence, human presence, luminous blue darkness, blue light emanating from the heart, light, blueness.
Blah, 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 blah. Kate and I have become, or are, a infinite internal speck made of the stuff that Amy was talking about, and all experiences arises and comes back to us.
Neutral disassembling and connecting and reassembling with more feeling and connection.
Very aware of the perfection of your hands holding mine.
Liquid luminosity whose nature is compassion.
So many experiences, but one that I would share was when I work as a healer, sometimes I touch people and there's like this integration. And I had that sense, how do you say this in 4 seconds? The opposite experience of just like bursting forth and all that just kind of fading away. So.
Thank you so much, everybody. See you guys first Wednesday during January. And Heidi wants to make a quick announcement in 2 seconds.
Sorry to torture you. You might be aware that I've done some research on the lived experience of stay-at-home fathers who are taking care of their kids while the wife is at work. And I have some, I think, And then I share those results and also your reactions to some of the findings kind of around masculinity and what it means to be a man today and all that. So I will send an update on the Wednesday group listserv, but I just wanted to kind of give a teaser to it.
And it's very interesting on gender, the flexibility of gender. It's really very cool what she's doing. She's understating it, but it's actually an exquisite work on gender. Thank you guys. See you later. Hasta la vista. Happy holiday and good luck.